what's up? This is JM, host of the Celebrity Grill podcast on iTunes, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Network. All barbecue and grilling, all the time.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
And welcome to the really big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, a live fire fun and frivolity show. If you would like to get in contact with the show this evening, or you would like to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter coming up in about 12 minutes from now. A first-time guest, a guy who is the owner of one of my favorite cigar brands on the face of the earth. That's right, the show, a barbecue and grilling show, but not always about barbecue and grilling. And when it's my new passion project of cigars, we are happy to welcome Al Micallef for not only the first interview segment in the first hour, but also in the second interview segment of the hour. So all cigars, all the time, 14 and 35 past the first hour with Al Micallef from Micallef Cigars, MicallefCigars.com, spelled Micallef. And I do have Micallef Black and Micallef Blue cigars to send out as samples if you are a lover of the leaf. So let me know about that. And that will wrap the first hour. Then we'll move to the second hour where you will find a visit from second hour, first Tuesday of the month, regular guest, a prolific cookbook writer, YouTube maven, and the list goes on. Sam, the cooking guy, rejoins the show. Sam boiling bacon, and I don't mean boiling, I mean deep frying in grease, lard, Crisco. It's all the same thing. We'll ask him about that. There's a event that happened a day or two ago that I have to get his personal thought on. I don't want to blow that here up in the lead, but we'll ask him about that. I know that's being a little coy, but trust me, worth it. And then we'll wrap up Sam, and we will close the show tonight. And coming out of the bullpen, 35 past the second hour, first-timer to the show, pitmaster of Engine 2 Barbecue, Gordon Thompson. You might remember that name. Gordon, also a greater Cleveland area guy, specifically Perry, if you know anything about the greater metropolitan region. I'm sure most of you don't. It's further east than I am. So if Cleveland is center, you go 12 miles east on 90 out of downtown Cleveland, run into Willoughby, and then go an additional 25 minutes or so same direction, further east. You run into Perry. That's where everything starts to flatten out. That's where a lot of the nurseries are, a lot of the farms, all that fun stuff, if you're into that. So Gordon Thompson will be talking about the win at Hartville Hardware's 10th annual Grill Fest from a couple weeks ago. Also talk to him about other stuff that he's into. And that's how the show is going to end. So Al Micallef in the first hour, about 10 minutes from now. And then we have Sam the Cooking Guy, Gordon Thompson in the second hour. Don't forget you can follow me socially, Instagram, the Twitter, TikTok, Snapchats, and the LinkedIn's all at the handle at BBQ Central Show. And of course, we say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platform partners. You can go to facebook.com/BBQ Central Show or twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. And of course, you can watch on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show, where we have a new YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody. And it's this: did we get the 2024 Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame right last week? And currently 75% of you are saying yes, indeed, we did get it right. Lots of controversy follows any Barbecue Hall of Fame or any Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame for that matter. Results of the poll question from last week: the Ninja gas and hot air powered grill will actually happen in 2025. 61% of you saying no. You do not believe that that grill is actually going to come to fruition next year. And luckily, we have enough time to start here this evening. And we will start with an email from frequent emailer to the show, Terry in Kentucky. Greg, I couldn't help notice how quickly you shit on the nomination by Matt in Tennessee of Amy Mills into the Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame. I echo Matt's sentiments. In fact, from a female perspective, there aren't many that have accomplished what she has, and in as many different areas as she has during her career. I think you missed the boat on this one big time. Podcast listener only. Love the show. Regards, Terry, thank you for writing in as always. Appreciate your take. And here's where my expertise allows me to correct you, Terry, which is concerning my Guest Hall of Fame. Number one, it's mine, and the embedded correspondents get to vote on this. We come to a unanimous decision. It has to be unanimous in order for somebody to get ushered into the Guest Hall of Fame. We know this. You become eligible by appearing as a guest merely one time. Only showing up on the show one time can get you into the Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame. If Al Micallef never comes on the show again, he has been a guest once, assuming something weird doesn't happen between now and 6 minutes from now. I'm assuming that's not going to happen. But if he never showed up again, he's appeared once, he is eligible to be considered for the Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame. That's all you need to do. Show up once. Then we'd give our nominations. And here's where it falls short, Terry. You agree with Matt's sentiments about what Amy Mills has accomplished in her barbecue career, but this is not the Barbecue Hall of Fame or any other Barbecue Hall of Fame for that matter. This is the Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame. Amy Mills has been a guest on the show one time, many years ago. Certainly a great appearance. That, on the standalone appearance that she has on this show, we're not talking about how she was acting as the expert during the real Barbecue Hall of Fame announcements earlier in the year. That was not part of this show. That was not a normal show. That was not my invite. She was invited on to the show by the folks over at the American Royal. That doesn't even count. So holding her one appearance, which was a very good appearance many years ago, we then have to agree that that one appearance is Guest Hall of Fame worthy. What Matt told you about were Amy Mills' professional achievements within the industry of barbecue. That is not what we're talking about here. We are talking about the quality of appearance. It can be one time, we've had it happen. It can be over a number of different appearances, over a number of different years. You had a guy like Andy Husbands, nominated once again by our embedded correspondent in Utah, Rusty Monson, not get in again this year because there was not unanimous. And Andy has been on the show 4 or 5 different times at this point. Over 10 years or more, he's still not in. So when you are coming at me for missing out big time on a potential entrant into the Guest Hall of Fame, keep in mind, we're not talking about professional achievements. We're not talking about how much money you made in the industry. We're not talking about how many followers you have. It's only on guest appearance. And Matt gave zero support for the one guest appearance. I bet Matt doesn't even know how many times she appeared until he listens to this show, only being one time. That's it. Doesn't count out of anything other than, did you appear? Were you magnificent? And was it Guest Hall of Fame worthy? Somebody brings you up, we vote on it. That's it. Has nothing to do with your career. Thank you for writing in, Terry. All right, looks like Al Micallef is ready to go. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. Before we do, I'm going to show you a hot little number right here. This is the Schwank Grill. It is ultra portable. It does get to 1,500 degrees with those infrared burners that you're seeing there on the video if you're watching. It gives you that steakhouse quality sear that you might be looking for. Places like Morton's Steakhouse and Del Frisco's and Cut 432 all use Schwank burners in their restaurants. Not like Schwank burners, the real technology. They've just made it more to be at home in this style of cooker. Plus, we're in the middle of football season. You know, there's tailgates here in Cleveland. We are unrivaled, except by the likes of maybe the Buffalo Bills, as far as best tailgates in the NFL. You want to bring something that you can grill burgers and fish and chicken wings and then really class it up with some high-end cuts of steak? The Schwank Grill can do it all. I am being told by Andrew over at Schwank Grills that in a little less than a week, starting on the 7th, so next Monday, there's going to be a special pre-Black Friday sale. You're going to be able to get this thing potentially at an even better price. Stay tuned next week for the big announcement as it comes down from the folks over at Schwank Grills. But right now, if you want to save $150 off that bad boy, you go to the website, schwankgrills.com, SCHWANK, schwankgrills.com, and use promo code BBQ Central, all one word, at checkout. You can save $150 off any Schwank Grill. Do that now, because by this time next week, there's going to be a whole other promotion in place. So get it while the getting's good. If you're ready to buy, you want to save the $150, schwankgrills.com and promo code BBQ Central. We are back with Al Micallef. Right after this, stick around, be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com to see their products, and then when you're ready to buy, go to Amazon.com or Walmart.com or Lowe's.com. Same great products, but great shipping rates that they can't give you at cookinpellets.com, as told to me by the owner of cookinpellets.com. As you know, well, the show is a barbecue and grilling show. It's not always about that. Many of you know that over the past 3 years, I have been quite the cigar aficionado. You know, I love the JRE tobacco offerings, but I am also deeply in love with another brand, the Micallef brand of cigars, especially the recent releases of Micallef Black and Micallef Blue, amongst others. And now Red is trickling out as well. But how did Micallef's growth happen in the first place? And how does one actually get into cigar making, there's no better person to ask than the man behind the brand, a captain of industry in his own right and in the cigar business. We're joined by a first-timer to the show, Al Micallef. Al, appreciate you joining me here this evening. How are you?
I'm great, Greg. I'm delighted to be here.
I'm excited to have you. Big fan. Haven't been a long-time cigar smoker, but for the 3 years that I have been in it, I have been long, steady, smoking a number of different lines that Micallef offers. We'll talk about the cigar business here in a bit, but I do think it's important to get some background on you before you stepped into the cigar sector of the business. If you don't mind giving us a little backstory on you, where you grow up, what you were into coming up, and other businesses that you have had interests in.
I'd be happy to do that. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, or a suburb of Detroit. I'm now 81 years old and feel 45, but still working hard. So I'll give you some of my background.
Yep.
Since being a very small kid, I love the idea of business. And, I had a typical lemonade stand. But when I was 16, I had a twist lounge, which was a dance lounge, in an old hardware store near my high school. And my dad, who worked every day of his life at Ford Motor Company, were making about $5,000 a year. And I was making about $30,000 a year. And in 1958, 59, that was big money.
Yep.
Now it doesn't mean much, but back then it was. In fact, it was so successful. My parents are first generation from the island of Malta, and no one makes a lot of money. And if you did, you were doing something wrong. So my dad took me to the local priest. And I had to sit there and explain to the priest, Father Sheltro, what I was doing to make that kind of money. And after an hour's discussion, he recruited me for their summer baseball league and told my dad I was okay and just let me move on.
So what happens at a twist club? Is
Well,
it like the dance, the twist club?
Yes. Yeah, it was, back then there was the Peppermint Lounge out in New York and in Paris and Regine's, that was, all over the world. Yeah, it got to be much less popular. And so one of my bigger business mistakes, that's when the hippie era and the coffee houses came into existence. So I moved into that realm, and I can tell you, you can't make any money selling one cup of coffee and having a guy play the flute for 3 hours. But anyway, I learned a lesson. A big lesson was don't follow the trend of what's going on unless you know that it's got some commercial value.
At 16 years old, regardless of what year we're talking about, at 16 years old, if you're making 30 grand, I mean, that's some big time money. So I agree. You trace it back to 1958 or just on the precipice of bumping into the 60s, and it probably seems like $1 billion. How long are you able to keep that up?
We had that for almost 3.5 years.
Holy moly!
Yeah, and it was, it was funny because I always liked carrying a lot of cash, so I had a lot of cash. I had pretty nice cars, and I was audited by the Internal Revenue Service. I think my second year. Accountant that I convinced that he needed to represent me said, "I'm going to do this for free, Al, because I want to see the look on that agent's face when you show up, knowing the kind of money you made legitimately." He said, "This is on me." It worked out just fine. It took a few minutes and it was over with.
What do you do with what ends up being around 90 grand or so?
What did I do with that money?
Yeah.
Like,
are you an investor, or at that age, are you kind of burning through it as quick as you're getting it?
Well, I was burning through it pretty fast, but, Corvettes cost, $4,000 then. You could get through, I did a couple of those. But more importantly, my family was, I guess you would call, lower middle class. So I left some money with them and my sister and just spread it around. My mom got really upset with me for spending a lot of money. And I tried to tell her, look, Mom, what I made this year, I'm going to make in a week when I get older. So it's no use saving it. It's not going to help.
Wow.
And at any rate, it was fun, and I had a lot of confidence back then.
I was going to say, I mean, it sounds like you're a pretty confident guy. You knew you were going to be getting into some kind of business that was going to be fairly lucrative. If what you're looking at now was going to be, what you're making in a year, you're going to be making in a week at some point down the road, or at least having that confidence. I love that, having that business mentality. As you get through, out of high school and you start, do you go to college, or do you not even bother?
I did. I mean, when, they threw me out after a year or so. So I was very skeptical because, I say this with all humbleness. I would take some business classes and some classes that were required. And I really thought, this guy that's teaching me about sales couldn't sell a chainsaw to a lumberjack. I mean, it's just didn't, and of course, I think this happens quite a bit. They don't have any practical experience. I've been to Harvard, and I really question some of the teachings that they do, because when you get into a business, as you know, Greg, it's not all textbook stuff. You have to meet the needs of a particular time and people that you're around.
You a live fire cooking fan?
Am I a live fire cooking fan?
Yeah, like barbecue and grilling.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the only thing I do. In fact, I was delighted to see that piece of equipment that you showed in the beginning, because we own restaurants, and 1,500 degrees is a perfect temperature for cooking steaks and getting them the way you want to in a short period of time.
How many restaurants are in the stable at this point?
Well, you know what? It started out, I bought a ranch in West Texas, in the Davis Mountains, and it was a gastronomical wasteland. So seriously, I opened this restaurant in in fact, was the oldest house in the Alpine, which is a little town in the mountains, just so I'd have a place to eat and hang out at night, after our cattle business. And it got to be, and I had, fortunately, the first chef I hired was, he's kind of imploded by now because he was a little crazy, but he was an outstanding chef. And we had a great reputation. And the president of Bank One came out to hunt with us. He loved the restaurant. Wow. He said to us, "Hey, I've got a restaurant on the 35th floor of this building. We'll cut you a deal like you've never had before if you'll open a restaurant in that bank building." And they really did.
Wow.
They were losing tenants because, all those attorneys didn't want to have to go out to eat. They wanted a restaurant, and it turned out very well for him. And our rent for the first 5 years was $0, and for the next 5 years was 10 cents a square foot.
Wow.
We never got to the second part of that because the building got hit by a tornado, and they shut the building down. And it's a long story, but so we've got Riata here, Riata in West Texas, and we've got a deli in a major building, and that's all we have. We really aren't restaurateurs. We have a restaurant that does about $12 million in sales, and still grows every year after 30 years.
What's your favorite barbecue meat to eat?
All my friends would say brisket.
Yeah.
And not me. I like sirloin that's, cooked on an open grill.
Yeah.
We've got Cooper's here. Tri-tip. I love tri-tip. I'm in a cattle business. If you ask me where the hell a tri-tip came from, I couldn't tell you that, but I really enjoy it.
What's your favorite barbecue place in the state? Like true Texas barbecue?
Cooper's.
Yeah.
Cooper's in Fort Worth. Yeah.
All right.
You're probably aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of places that are similar to Cooper's. And it's not your typical. Cooper's isn't your typical barbecue place. I mean, it's got very fine cuts of meat, and it's. I had a friend from London, my attorney from London, who, you go in there and you pick out what you want, and he picked out so much food. I thought, there's no way this guy could eat this food. He ate every bit of it.
Wow.
Yeah, he loved it. Yeah.
How do we find our way, and I say we, I mean Al, how do we find our way into cigars when you had experienced great success in other business sectors?
Well, a lot of our business was automotive connected. We supplied a lot of gaskets and seals, and that's a brutal business. And it's reduce your margin or reduce your price every year for 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally unworkable. And it seriously put a lot of suppliers out of business, put them in a Chapter 11, they came back. But so I'm looking for a product that is difficult to be supplied from China or from Taiwan or wherever. I'm looking for a product that's why I like the restaurant business, because Taiwan's not going to bring a hamburger in, but I'm looking for something that has pretty good gross margin. Theoretically, the cigar industry, build your product in the right country with the right tobacco and the right people, and you have a reasonable gross margin if you hit a certain volume level. Yeah. And so that's how it interested me.
Are you a person that had been a long-time cigar smoker, or had you picked it up a little bit later in life?
No, I smoked cigars for a long time. But I hunted in Africa for over 2 years on and off. And so that's when I would smoke a lot of cigars, and I really enjoyed that. And so when I had a little more free time and could spend more time, at a cigar lounge, that's when I really got into smoking a lot. People ask me, how long you've been smoking? And I said, basically, if you count taking the Detroit Free Press, wrapping it up with leaves in it, I started when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
But truly, I probably started smoking in my 30s.
Do you mind giving a little bit of the backstory on how Micallef cigars actually came to be? Because I've heard it through. I'm a big fan of the Cigar Authority podcast, and I heard you kind of recount the story there. But I'm not going to assume everybody is the same kind of cigar nerd that I am. So if you could regale us with a little bit of that unique story.
Sure, I would love to. I have a long version and a short version, but I'll give you the medium, quick version. I was smoking at a cigar lounge here in Fort Worth called Silverleaf, which is pretty much my number one lounge that I go to. I now go to a lot of lounges just to support our customers.
Yep.
Yeah, but I go to Silverleaf. I'm sitting there with friends of mine, and this old SUV type vehicle broke down right in front of the cigar lounge. And these three guys came in, spoke very, very little English. They were all Cubans, and they wanted to roll some cigars to create some money so they could get their car fixed. I mean, that was the story. And so the general manager said, no, finally I said, hey, Jake, just let them roll some cigars, So he said, okay. So they rolled cigars. I smoked the ones they rolled, and I thought, son of a gun. Well, I mean, they were smart enough to have really fine tobacco, and both these two of these guys were were really senior blenders. I mean, they were top notch. They they blended and rolled these products. I smoked them. And I went, holy crap, these things are outstanding. And so they were there for 3 days while their car was being fixed. They were rolling cigars. My friend Dan, we probably know Dan Thompson. He's the president of Micallef Cigars.
Yep.
He put them up at the Fort Worth Club, which was a little unusual. They thought that was pretty nice. We had restaurants, so I fed them in all of our restaurants. I think they could have left in a day and a half, but they decided life was pretty good here.
Yeah.
So they stayed a little bit longer.
These guys are
But
just
when they were
traveling
leaving-
around with tobacco ready to roll?
Yes, sir.
seems
That's
weird.
what that's seriously how they fed their family.
Wow. It's like a
And
pop-up.
they have a history. Right, exactly.
Wow.
And they have a history. They were in Mexico. They raised San Andreas. In San Andreas, they raised tobacco. That got taken over by the Mexican government.
Oh.
They almost lost their life. Then they ended up being rolling cigars. They roll fake Cubans, actually, in some of the resort areas. I said that was great because those people that bought the fake Cubans were really lucky because they were getting a better cigar.
Yeah, of course.
But at any rate, so when they were going to leave, I said, could you roll me 1,200 cigars? And they said, yeah. And I said, let me tell you what I like. And they go, nah, there you go. They said to me, look at Al, we've been watching you for 3 days. We know what you like. Let us do it.
Wow.
So 6 months later, I get 1,200 cigars. And I start handing these cigars out to my friends, and everybody is taken back by the quality of these cigars. And so that started, they wanted some help in their business. And I know from experience, I don't need partners. You don't need partners because eventually it becomes a problem. So I said, I'll tell you what, guys, if you want me in this business, let me buy your business, whatever you have, your inventory, your equipment, whatever you have. You can work for me, your family, and as long as you continue to build good product and your activities is honest, then you can work for me. And that's how. So I went down to the factory, which was the size of your garage, had bullet holes from the Revolution, but after I went down there, I thought, well, this isn't going to work. So I started looking to build a new plant, and I found that Davidoff had a plant, and Davidoff went to the Dominican Republic. So we bought their plant, and we fixed it up, modified it, and we've got the capacity for about 5 million cigars at that facility. And so we got in that cigar, by the way, was the cigar of the year, the first year we were in business, and it was in the top 25 of Cigar Aficionado. So,
what's the name of that one?
That Reserva cigar,
Oh,
the Reserva.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and it's a ridiculously priced cigar. It's $45. To me, there's honestly, now that I've been in the business for 8 years, there's no cigar worth $45. No cigar worth more than that, believe me. There's some great cigars, and maybe $25 could justify, the tobacco and the aging and the way you handle it. But I mean,
so I've smoked few what I would term expensive cigars. I've had the Adam Bays. I've had an Alfonso here and there. These are all $45, $50 cigars. Never more than that. But my issue as what I would call like the everyday ham and egger cigar guy, I'm not independently wealthy where, like Michael Jordan used to smoke the Lusitania cigars like a box a day, and they're, $35, $40 a piece back then, which was still a lot. I mean, now they're through the roof. So I'm looking for QPR, quality price ratio. That's my number one thing when I'm doing cigars. So I'll smoke a Byron Grand Selection, and it's unbelievable. And then I'm done with it, and I'm like, Well, I'm not going to smoke another one tomorrow, and I'm not going to spend $1,100 on a box of 15 or 20. I would love to. It just doesn't make sense in my world. And then we have a cigar that comes along like your Micallef Black that kind of changes the game here. And so it's not only a great smoking cigar, but it's a great price point. We're going to talk about that here in a second. Can I put you on hold just for one moment, and we'll come back and pick up the cigar talk? All right. Stand by. We are talking with Al Micallef from Micallef Cigars, website micallefcigars.com. We're going to talk about that Micallef color line that he has. But first, the question for you. Are you tired of settling for mediocre grilling experiences? Of course you are. It's time to step your game up.
Step your game up.
Bring the ultimate flavor and cooker to the backyard grills, Pits and Spits. Of course, you know they're offering the big charcoal grills that we usually talk about, but as of last week, as we learned from Ryan Zaboral, they do have a gas grill, but also has a flat top griddle insert that goes on top of it. Right. So now, and it's stainless steel. Of course, we all know Pits and Spits, famous for the stainless steel output. So they have the stainless steel griddle top. You don't want to do flat top? Fine. Take it off, put in the grill grates, and now you have a 4-burner gas grill. Again, price tag might make you faint a little bit, $4,000, but it's the last gas grill and griddle that you're going to ever have to buy. It's also going to get handed down to your kids. Same quality that they're doing with the offset pits, with their pellet-fired cookers. Now is in that gas grill and gas griddle combo that we unveiled last week with Ryan over at Pits and Spits. So you can check them out on their website right now, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. Once again, that's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. That's the double T on the Pits and the Spits. And if you want to buy a charcoal grill because they're magnificent, use promo code Charcoal Central at checkout. Get $150 off any charcoal grill. Or buy the charcoal grill and buy the gas grill with the griddle insert, and then you're pretty much set. Baby, get a Pits and Spits offset. Now you're really set. It's the good folks over at Pits and Spits. We're back with more Al Micallef right after this. Stick around.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
This segment brought to you by Fireboard, makers of Fireboard 2, Fireboard Pro, Fireboard Spark, the Fireboard Beacon, and of course the new Fireboard Pulse wireless thermometer. When you use the Fireboard app, you have total access to all devices anywhere in the world as long as you're connected to Wi-Fi. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. Get on that wait list for the Fireboard Pulse, or keep checking your emails because rolling invitations as they are. We are back with Al Micallef. Al, appreciate you hanging with me through the break there. So we had alluded to the introduction of a Micallef Black. Of course, Micallef Blue is out there as well. When Micallef, the brand, is ready to sell, as we dial it back a little bit, how many different lines do you come to market with initially? Is it just that Reserva, or do you have a host of other options?
Well, when we came, we probably had 15 Vitolas, which was, there were various blends and various sizes. A lot, some of the sizes obviously are the same blends, but we had, up to about a year ago, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 to 46, including sizes and different blends. Okay. We've cut that back a little bit based on, acceptance in the marketplace.
Micallef has been very vocal how they do business, and it's a method that differs quite a bit from how other companies are operating nowadays, in and outside of the cigar industry. Micallef's selling only to brick and mortar cigar shops, not direct to consumer, not online through discounters and stuff like this. Why is that important to you to build that way?
It's extremely important to me because of being a small businessman. I'm seeing what the giant mega companies are doing to the mom and pop operations. And I didn't realize it initially because, we dealt with Cigar International originally, but I didn't really understand how they undercut the brick and mortar people. Now, if you want to smoke in your backyard with 5 foot of snow in the middle of the wintertime, then buy your product online. But if you want to spend time and watch a football game and develop relationships with people in a cigar lounge, then we need to keep these cigars guys viable. So we had, and I don't know the exact number, but we had about 140,000 cigars that we were working with CI on, and we bought all their inventory back when we fired them, and we packed that inventory, and we weren't going to put it on the market. We're not going to, dump it and get rid of it. So we gave 140,000, maybe a little more, to the Cigars for Warriors and shipped them overseas.
No way.
So, yeah. And
Wow.
so the boys, I can tell you the number of flags and stuff I get from soldiers that have been overseas that have been smoking our product for several years. I was delighted. I just wanted to get the cigars to the boys. I didn't expect anything from it, but we made a lot of great friends, and I still communicate with a lot of them, and a lot of SEALs, a lot of special op guys, and a lot of guys that just good, solid soldiers.
The company does something counter to what the rest of the industry was doing a few years ago, coming out of the pandemic. There was a number of well-known cigar brands bringing cigars to market at very high price points, as we had alluded to a couple minutes ago. There were so Micallef Black really changes the game for many of us. And when you started sampling it, what were your initial thoughts of that cigar as it's getting ready to come out?
Well, I mean, I absolutely love the cigar, but it wasn't an accident. It took, if I probably not exaggerating, a couple of years to get it where we wanted to get it. But, we're manufacturers. And so the expertise we have is taking raw material and turning it into a product. And we know that you can do that, and it can cost you $1 to do it. It can cost you $2 to do it, just depending on the skill level and quality and how you approach it. And we're ISO 9000. We have all the quality ratings that we need. We've adopted some of those in our restaurants, some of those in our cigar factory. I want to. You've seen cigars with bands that look like the Mona Lisa painted them. They're gorgeous. They're beautiful. The boxes look like something that you want to, pack high-end jewelry in.
Yeah.
Well, Dan wants to, we all want to put the value in the cigar. And our boxes look great, and our band's certainly okay. But I don't, you throw the band away, the boxes get stacked in a corner with your, old underwear or whatever. I think I would rather put the quality and buy the best tobacco and then ferment. We ferment our product. I always say 3 times. We ferment that product until we drive all the ammonia out of it. Mm-hmm. That's why you'll smoke a Micallef. It'll be strong. It'll be tasty, but it won't. Your mouth doesn't taste like the inside of a tennis shoe.
Yep.
You don't have a headache. That's because of driving all the volatiles off. So the quality is important, very important to us.
Bring me into the war room as you talk about the quality of the cigar, but how you're going to price it. You're very happy with how it smokes, the taste, all this stuff that you just talked about. But how do you come up with a pricing strategy on this one?
Well, first of all, we know what our cost is. That's extremely important, obviously. We set cigars, we have 10, you probably know this, but we have 10,000 ambassadors, Micallef ambassadors. And so we send them to ambassadors and we ask them, where's the value of this cigar? What do you think this cigar is worth? So I think on the black, for example, we didn't do quite the same with the blue and the red, but the black was between $12 and $19.
Wow.
And Dan and I looked at each other and said, okay, now we know what the perceived value is. We know what it cost us. Let's make sure that the guy out there that's, especially in these economic times, can afford to smoke 2 or 3 cigars a day if he wants to, and not destroy, have his kids eating Cheerios. I mean, we want it priced right. And so that's what we did.
Wow.
And my biggest concern was, in discussing this in our war room, was I hope people don't take this because it's $8 and it's a crappy cigar.
Yeah.
But that didn't last very long, because as soon as somebody tasted it, they go, holy crap. Then they recommended it to their friends. And I mean, the momentum, I just got off the road for 13 days. I did 20 different events.
Wow.
And I want you to know the momentum. I've never seen a momentum quite like this. Just unbelievable.
Dave Garofalo from Two Guys Smoke Shop, Cigar Authority podcast host, dubbed the strategy the Micallef effect, in essence, causing others in the industry to rethink their own pricing strategies. So a couple questions as we're going through that time. Did you catch a lot of heat from other cigar brands about how you were pricing your cigar?
No, sir. What I got is a lot of questions, not heat, and from very big guys said, hey, Al, let's have a talk. We sit down and have a drink. We're talking about pricing, and they asked me about, and I said, look, the only strength we have, I wasn't born in Cuba. I don't have a 200-year history. I said, what I've got is the skill to make product, really good product at a good price. And so I said, so we're using that skill that we've learned in 50 years at manufacturing companies. We're using that as we build cigars. And so we're building great cigars, and the price is right, and we're going to do that. Now, we're not going to be able to keep those prices forever, because I've eaten a lot of price increases from our suppliers. But the point is when we raise it, it's not going to be outrageous. It's still going to be the best bargain out there. And no, actually, the industry is somewhat applauding us, because a lot of people are going, pricing has gotten to be ridiculous.
So the follow-up question was going to be, for the brands that decide to employ a similar mindset, do you think they felt forced to do it, or do you think they saw the success and said, you know what, we do tend to agree, maybe things are getting a little out of hand, and why not provide a quality cigar at a value price?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's both. There are people that are saying, hey, I got to lower my prices because this guy's picking up market share. And the other guy says, you know what? These prices have gotten goofy. And, we benefited from those higher prices. But there's somebody in the marketplace that's saying, hey, hold on a minute. Let's start providing quality for the right price.
I've got so black is like hands down one of my favorite cigars ever. Love both the Toro, love the Robusto, of course. I've got my hands on the blue line recently, and now all of a sudden it's like trying to pick which kid is your favorite. They both have nuance. They're both individually perfect and great, and it's tough for me to figure out which one I want to smoke day to day or week to week, whatever it is. How do you describe a black? How do you describe a blue? And how do you describe the newly released red to people?
If I the black, to me, is, if you like a little stronger cigar, the black's got everything that you want. Okay. And it's not harsh and it doesn't hurt you.
Yeah. I call it
blue,
the essence of Nicaragua.
Well, it sounds romantic, but it's really true.
Yeah, for sure.
It's everything's, it's like a full package. The blue, if I'm explaining it to you, I'll say, you know what? If you want something a little more friendly, a little lighter,
Yep.
try the blue. It's still a great cigar. It's still a medium plus cigar.
Yep.
And then the red, which is amazing because of that broadleaf, Connecticut broadleaf we put in a binder. It's a totally different taste. You can tell the difference between the other two cigars, and believe me, I jump back and forth. I mean, I can't tell you. I'll go, I want a black, and then the next day or the second cigar, I'll do blue, or maybe I'll do a red. I mean, what I really like about it for us is that when you smoke one of our other cigars, which our line is really good, you smoke it and then you'll go, well, I want to try something else. So you'll go buy another cigar, not a Micallef. So you have a variety. Now people just switch among our brand, and not necessarily go outside the box, which we really like. And the thing that was concerned me was that our other products that we have, I thought, well, they're gonna, we got 1 million cigars in inventory, because when in Texas, because when you call me for an order, I'm shipping it.
Yeah,
I'm not telling you it's on back order. So I'm thinking, well, we might have those cigars for a while. But I saw in this trip that people were buying the black, the blue, the red, and then they were jumping in some of the legacy cigars that we have, which made me very happy.
Is there anything new that we should be waiting on before the end of the year, or have we gotten everything out that we're kicking out in 24?
Well, I think 24, you've got what we've got.
All right.
25, different story. Okay. At the show, we'll be introducing something new. I've smoked it. Even before it's been aged properly, it's pretty outstanding. And so I think we've got two more offerings coming next year. And then I think we at least hopefully nail our color series down. And we picked, why we picked colors instead of names? Because I can't remember. You're really good at it, but I can't remember a great cigar I smoked. I can't remember the damn name. So if I don't take it and stick it in my wallet or take a picture of it, so I said, and just being at lounges and watching guys come in and say, I smoked this cigar at a blue and green label, and the tobacconist is going, I don't know what the hell you smoke.
Yeah.
We're making it really easy. If you can remember a color, I said, Dan, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, or we need blue, black, yellow. We need something people can remember.
So look for that at the show coming up. Give me a hot take, Al. What do you think about Cuban cigars and the voracious allure amongst especially beginner cigar smokers?
Totally misinformed. Cubans are, not what they used to be. Their tobacco is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
I was in London. Do I have a minute? I'll give you a quick story in London.
Give me the story, absolutely.
So Amy and I are in London, and we at a very beautiful boutique hotel, which I knew had a secret cigar lounge, because you're not allowed to smoke theoretically in London indoors. So I convinced the maitre d' with a few cigars to take me to the cigar lounge. So it wasn't 600 square feet. I go in there, all Cubans. So I picked 2 Cohibas. We sat down. I ordered a Coke. She ordered a Prosecco. Both of them didn't draw. Absolutely didn't draw.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that's not well, I find out since then, not unusual.
Right.
I take him back. I said, now I got to go tell this guy that looks like James Bond. I said, these cigars don't draw. And he said, oh, yeah, not a problem. He said, we have that a lot. That was a shocker to me. So we got 2 more. They were fine. We got our bill when we left. 506 pounds sterling.
Wow.
2 cigars, 2 drinks. And so I looked at the bill and I went, Amy, you won't believe this. Look at this. We just laughed. But Cubans in that part of the world are incredibly overpriced.
Yeah.
People, sophisticated people that are smoking like yourself, believe me, they'll say exactly what I say. But if you want to smoke a cigar that tastes like Cubans did 25 years ago,
Yeah.
smoke some Micallefs, because we've got the same people building them that built them 25 years ago. Same technique. We do everything the way they did back then. And I had a guy that was 90 sitting next to me at an event, and I'm smoking a Micallef Experienza, fabulous stick. And I gave him one. This is a true story. He has tears running down. And I said, are you okay? He's like 90. I said, do I need to get someone for the help? No, he said, this reminds me of when I was 18 years old. He said, this cigar, and he just couldn't believe it was reminded of a Cuban when he was 18.
Wow.
So that made me feel pretty damn good.
Yeah. This guy's 90. He's probably calling you kid, right?
Yeah, he was. The funny, that was a funny story. I can't remember what it was, but he was very complimentary and just a wonderful guy. Oh, but I remember what I was going to tell you. He's 90 years old. He says he smokes since he was 12 or 13. He smoked 6 to 12 cigars a day.
Wow.
And I said, how's your health? He said, my health's fine. And then I found out 5 months later, I asked about him at the shop that I was in. I said, hey, that Jose guy? He goes, yeah, he's dead. I said, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Fell down the stairs. He fell down the stairs. He did not die from smoking cigars.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Al, I could sit here and talk to you all night. I appreciate the extended time here this evening. Great to learn about your background, especially introducing you to my fan base. And what I've come to find is lovers of smoked meat and grilled meat also have a pretty voracious appetite for premium hand-rolled cigars. So it's been a great meeting here this evening. Again, thanks so much for the time, and I'd love to have you back on in the future.
I love that. You're a great guy. Easy guy to talk with.
Appreciate it, Al. Have a great night, and we will see him next time around because I'm going to have him on. Stellar debut appearance for Al Micallef from Micallef Cigars. The website is micallefcigars.com. Micallef cigars.com. Find a retailer near you. And again, I got the hookup if you want some samples. I got black, I got blue. That's all you have to remember. Just colors, like Al said. Nothing fancy, nothing like that. No. Right before we wrap it up in the first hour, let's talk about Primo Grills. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that you can get rip-roaring hot for high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday ceramic cooker lineup? The ability to do two-zone cooking. You can't do it in most because they're round, and that's why Primo makes their oval design. Patented, game-changing. You can now make a fire all the way off to the left-hand side, put in your divider, put the meat on the far right-hand side. You have no heat underneath. You can go indirect. You can go a little convection. If you want to go super indirect, you can put in the heat deflector. It's up to you. There's 60 different ways to cook on this thing. Much like Al Micallef is selling Micallef cigars through brick-and-mortar dealers. Same thing with Primo Grills. Only sold through dealers. Go to primogrill.com, find a dealer near you, touch and feel all the ovals, and then buy the one that best suits your needs and budget. But remember this, no one ever got pissed buying up. No one ever bought a box of cigars and was pissed that they bought a box of cigars. You have more, you got a discount, way better than the single. Same thing with Primo. Buy the XL instead of the large. You're never going to bitch about it, but you will bitch, I wish I got the XL. I guarantee it's going to happen. Buy up. PrimoGrill.com. We're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around, be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. We thank Al Micallef for joining us here in the first hour. MicallefCigars.com is the website, at Micallef Cigars, their Instagram handle if you would like to follow them there. That's some pretty interesting content up on the Instagram. Pumping it out. I'm getting email and text messages saying, is this Harry DeHorse? No, I'm not pulling one over on you, gang. I didn't just have Harry DeHorse on and position him as Al Micallef, business tycoon. I see what you're getting at. That's not what happened. Take it from me. I see what you're getting at. By the way, what up with Harry? Hey, Harry. Where's Harry at? Harry DeHorse. We're going to have to chase him down next year as we lead into the Triple Crown of horse racing. All right, so we're a little bit over here. We'll step away. We'll reload second hour. And Sam the Cooking Guy is coming in, and Gordon Thompson closing out the show. Lots of cigar talk in the first hour if you missed it. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.